On the pain, the only thing that's real. The needle tears the hole.
Guys, go ahead and throw that other article up on screen. I want to read the headline for people if they want to go read the prisonplanet.com story. It has links to mainstream news where the counsel of the 9/11 Commission, headline, 911 Commission Counsel, government agreed to lie about 9/11. New book from man tasked by government to help investigate attacks unveils how official story is almost entirely untrue. And then we have links to the mainstream media articles there in the story. Scroll down where he said that out of the Washington Post and other publications. In fact, I'm going to read that next hour. Right now, let's go to this clip with Wayne Madsen. Here it is. Wayne Madsen breaking down the domestic spy force to cover up the fact that the Pentagon carried out the attacks. Here it is.
Well, it is operating now. It's the NSA security group called the Q Group. Its headquarters are within the National Security Agency headquarters in Fort Meade, Maryland. However, the group also works closely with FBI counterintelligence officers, as well as something I learned recently, local police department intelligence units. So it's a very large group, about 1,000 agents and informants employed by this secretive agency within a secretive agency, the NSA.
To make this clear, when you're talking about the NSA, of course, you're talking about the American National Security Agency. You're saying this is emerging as a whole new branch of power within the U.S. Now, if that is true, who's it answerable to?
It's really answerable to no one. On paper, of course, this security organization answers to the director of the National Security Agency, General Keith Alexander. But I've been told by people on the inside that the oversight committees in the House of Representatives and the Senate, the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, as well as the congressional offices of Maryland representatives and senators, particularly Representative Dutch Rupersberger, who represents the National Security Agency area headquarters. It's in his district. There are informants even on their staff, so people who come to them with complaints, that information is passed to this NSA security group.
Well, the NSA, highly secret, of course, often with good reason. I must press you on this. What evidence do you have to suggest all these claims you are making?
I've actually seen documentation about an organization, a program within NSA. It's a program called First Fruits, a database that keeps track of journalists who write about the National Security Agency, and also contains information about who they're talking to. It's a draconian organization. It's prosecuted several people who were just doing their jobs, the most egregious being Ken Ford, who was an Iraq signals intelligence officer working in the Iraqi shop, who discovered evidence that there was no weapons of mass destruction. He was set up in a sting operation by this Q group, and it's the most egregious case I've ever seen. He was convicted and sentenced to 7 years in prison based on a sting that involved a tainted jury pool, dirty judges, dirty prosecutors, and with the active involvement of this NSA security group. Not the only case, but the most egregious I've seen.
Now, of course, the previous administration, George W. Bush, raced ahead with strengthening and intensifying the powers of security agencies in the U.S. How is the liberal Obama...
We're going to come back. Folks, this is actually on record. Stay with us. Wayne Madsen has broken countless stories that are just huge. He was the first person. He's up at the National Press Club every day, written for some of the biggest publications in the country, worked for the National Security Agency. I sent a crew up there to interview him, and they said it was just amazing at the press club. All these old famous reporters coming over going, off the record, it's New World Order, it's global government, it's total takeover. Alex is right, Wayne's right, it's bad, but we won't talk about it. And he told us about a story that was going to be breaking soon about white supremacists in all these veterans organizations in the Pentagon, and then that came out a few weeks later on national news. But we didn't run with it because it's it was kind of a side issue to our main purview, and I didn't want to list these people's names myself first. I wanted to wait. In fact, 80%, 90% of the stuff I learn about here, we end up not even covering, because if I can't 100% prove it, we just don't even go with it. Because I'm not in the business of being sued here, listing a bunch of Army colonels and generals as Nazis. But that was one of the latest things he talked about here that came out mainstream after he told us internally and named names. It wasn't even him breaking it. It was other people. He said it's a manufactured flu virus. This is what they're going to do. This is what it's really a mixture of. You're talking to microbiologists in D.C. Months later, that exact thing came out, mainstream news, all these scientists saying it was man-made and all that. But exactly what he said, and time again, he just breaks really good news. But when he gets up on air, on foreign television, on RT in this case, and talks about how they have intelligence units of the NSA using Army intelligence, using local police to harass 9/11 truthers and to watch government whistleblowers and to track us and to set people up. Folks, I told you I've been in the parking lot and had the guys block my car, and it's Special Forces, and they go, look, we're watching you, and we're, just watch your ass. I mean, and you're going, my God, and they just laugh and get in their car and drive off. Or, they call your wife up and they go, the little white dog's in the backyard. Oh, look, he's eating his food. My wife walks over. Nobody can see in our backyard, and there's the white dog. I mean, these people, they call up and tell my wife, they're a woman and I've gotten her pregnant. And then it's a big joke, the phone saying U.S. government on it with no phone number. I mean, they want you to know it's them. And, God, they're murderers. And they ship the heroin in, the cocaine in. They stage 9/11, and it's a group within a group now watching the government. But remember, 2 years ago, the Violent Radicalization Act, Richard Gage. And they put Richard Gage up on Congress and said, we've got to ban this group, and said he's with this group, and showed Al-Qaeda training videos. And now, notice they said 9/11 truth's going to get violent. 9/11 truth's going to get violent. Glenn Beck said, we got to use the Army against him. We got to arrest him. And all this talking points, and every time somebody let off a flashbang by the Army Navy Recruiting Center in Times Square, and they said 9/11 truth did it with no evidence. And then now you see it fulfilling, the reality happening. Because they did it, folks, and they know we're exposing them. Because he can only come on for like 5 minutes. We're going to have him on with Bob Chapman right now. But the issue is, I got the Army documents a month before it then ended up in mainstream news from the Army. I was given this by an Army source, where I was under surveillance with Ron Paul at the anti-Fed rallies, saying we're terrorists, watch us. Folks, I'm living a spy novel, and all I'm doing is saying I don't want foreign bankers raping me. Let's go to Bob Chapman briefly, and we're going to come back with him and Wayne Madsen, and we're going to let Wayne go quickly because he's got to go into a meeting. But, I mean, Bob, this is getting crazy, man. We're all living a spy novel here.
I would have never been believed it would have happened this way. I'm really, really surprised that some of the players are who they are. And, the military knows better.
Yeah, well, they pay these young men a lot of money to do what they do. I hope these young men know that most of them, you get killed later. I hope you know you get killed or sent down the river later. Bob, stay there. Let's briefly come back with Wayne with this, and then get into a bunch of financial news and a lot more. Stay with us.